If you've been following the news out of Hawaii at all lately, you know that Maui has had a stretch. The wildfires in August of 2023 devastated Lahaina and left the whole island forever changed. Years of recovery. And then, earlier this month, a massive Kona storm rolled through and brought flooding, road collapses, a closed road to Hana, and evacuation advisories near the temporary housing where Lahaina fire survivors are still living. And through all of it, people keep asking me, should I still go to Maui? Is now a good time? Is it actually like there right now? I could answer that question, and I have. I was just on Maui in February, and I'll link that trip report episode in the show notes. But what I really wanted was to hand the microphone to someone who actually lives there, someone who loves the island the way I love visiting, but who has a completely different relationship with it. Someone who can tell you what locals are actually thinking and feeling and hoping you understand before you book that flight. So today, I'm talking to Liza Pierce, Maui local, blogger, and co-host of the Maui Life Podcast. And honestly, this is a conversation I've been wanting to have for a long time. Welcome back to Hawaii Travel Made Easy. I'm your host, Marcie, and today's guest is someone I've been following on Instagram for a few years now and have always admired for how honest and heartfelt her content is. She writes a Maui blog at amauiblog.com. She co-hosts the Maui Life Podcast, and she's lived on Maui long enough to know things that no travel guide is going to tell you. With everything that's happened on that island over the past couple of years, the Lahaina wildfire, the recovery, and now the Kona storm that just tore through in March, I could not think of a better person to sit down with and have a real conversation about what Maui is like right now, what locals actually need from visitors, and whether this is a good time to go. Liza, welcome so much to the show. I am glad that you are here.
Thank you so much, Marcie. I'm so glad I'm here. We've been following each other for a long time, and it's so good to just be able to converse like this, instead of just like typing and messaging. So I'm excited. I'm excited to talk and share about Maui. And I know you love Hawaii. I love that about you. Can't believe 40 times, 40 plus. I'm sure there'll be more visiting Hawaii. So that's exciting. I love that.
I love it too. So welcome so much. So for listeners who are just meeting you for the first time, how long have you lived on Maui and what made you want to start writing and talking about it so publicly?
Okay, so I've been living here since 1993. So that's 30 plus years, I think 32 to be exact. And I came here from the Philippines. I'm originally from the Philippines. My husband and I met in the Philippines, and he's living on Maui. He's originally from the East Coast, but he's been living in Maui for a long time when we met. And so, when we started writing each other, dated through letters, and then we got married. And so he brought me here to Maui. And so, to answer your question, what made me talk about Maui, share about Maui so publicly? It really is out of gratitude of being able to live here. It's just it's amazing, it's like living a dream that I never thought I have or I had. And then all of a sudden, wow, I'm living in paradise, So yeah, so it made me out of gratitude, it made me start doing that. But there's also kind of backstory on like when I was a working mom when my kids were young, and started a Maui blog. Mommy, because I wanted some connection with other mothers, and I was working. By the time I come home, there's no more play. What do you call the play group for moms and their kids? So I started blogging, and that mommy blog, the community, they will have families going to Hawaii, going to Maui. And they kept on asking me, oh, what about this? What should we do? Where shall we eat? And after answering so many of those questions, I was like, I might as well start a vlog about Maui. And so I did.
That is so funny. And we have such a connection there because I also started a mommy blog when my kids were little. And part of the reason I have my Hawaii Travel with Kids site is because so many people asked me about questions about Hawaii with kids. And I was writing so much content about it and emailing people and DMing them on Instagram. that I thought the same thing. Why don't I just start a Hawaii blog? And so we have that shared connection there, which is really
Yes,
funny.
yes. And it's always so nice because we're being helpful. And people appreciate it. We get messages saying, "Oh, thank you so much for your tip and your, guidance, and it made a difference in their travel." So we just kept on going. I just kept on going. I mean, I started my Maui blog in 2005. That's a long time ago. My
That's
kids were
amazing.
little. Now my kids are young adults or adult. And then yeah, and so I just kept on going because of the feedback that I get. And like what I said, it's just gratitude. And I love sunset. And so it's so easy to share about sunset. When I'm watching sunset, just take my phone and show, record a little bit and share it. And people appreciate it. So yeah, that's how it all started.
I know I always love when I see your sunset photos and video pop up in my feed because it's just that little breath of Hawaii since I live in Seattle. So I don't get to be, seeing the sunsets in Hawaii all the time. So it's just that little dose of aloha. And so I really appreciate it. I know all these other people are appreciating it too. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's start with the thing that I really brought you here for.
Hmm.
What do Maui locals actually wish tourists understood before they arrived? Not the stuff that ends up in every guidebook, like the real stuff.
Okay. For me, I think what really matters is for them to learn about Hawaii culture before they're coming here. And it's just the basic Hawaii culture. They don't have to dive that deep, but the basic culture, if you know them, will make a difference when you come visit. What basic culture? Let me share some. Okay, we know about the aloha and the mahalo, right? You speak that. Speak it up. Aloha is a way of life. It's not just a greeting.
Yep.
So there's a lot about aloha that they can learn about. They're just speaking kindly, smiling, all that aloha. But aside from aloha, I'm thinking other things such as one word that you will hear over and over is kulia, which is your responsibility. And it is our kuleana to malama the land. That's another phrase you will always hear. Malama the land is love the land that you're living in. And so those basics, culture or values, in practical terms, be like malama the land. Do not throw your trash when you're in the ocean, when you're at the beach. Take them home with you if you cannot find a trash can, right?
Yep.
So when you're hiking, don't eat, something snack and just throw the whatever wrapper out there. You should always take them back with you to the hotel and throw it in the trash there. So that's one simple malama. Another thing is, some visitors who are in places where they don't have turtles, they don't have wildlife that we have here, like nēnē, they don't know that you shouldn't approach them and you shouldn't touch them. And
Yes.
so, yeah. And so just knowing those basic things, then you won't get in trouble. A law that if you touch the hono, you will be fined. So if you didn't research about it, if you didn't learn about it, you'll be like, oh, I didn't mean to harm them. I just cannot touch it. I just want a picture next to them. No, 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 no. It is very important in Hawaiian values to stay away from them and give them, their space. That's respect. So, and another simple thing I'm thinking is respect for the elders. And so, the kupuna, they call them the kupuna. And I know generally, in American values, we respect elders, right? But they're even 10x of that. It's
Yeah.
really, really important. The elders should listen to them. You don't talk back to them. They're source of wisdom. So that's, a value that Hawaiian culture, and I love it about Hawaiian culture. And then one more thing, I can share so much of this. But one more thing, last one that I'm thinking because of the times right now is kōkua.
Yeah.
And that's helping, out of the abundance of your, generosity, you help others. And that's what's happening now with the, recent Kona storm is that people are giving kukua with their time, finances, resources, giving, to others who are in need. See?
I love
And I
that.
know you know that. It's
I
like,
know I'm really passionate about that. I don't want any of my listeners to, not understand, that Hawaii is just such a special place and you do need to know how to be respectful of the people, of the animals, of the land, everything. I want to make sure I'm putting that out into the universe.
yes. And it's so funny. Let me tell you one story. When I was sharing, I have a blog about visiting Maui. I think it was 2024, after the fire. And I was
Mhm.
saying, be respectful and all that. And then there's one commenter that said, you don't have to tell us to be respectful. They kind of like that tone. We are respectful. They're kind of annoyed. And I was like, no, 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 no. This
No.
is just a reminder. We're not belittling you. We're not lecturing you. It's
Yeah.
always good to be reminder how to be respectful in a way that the Hawaiians are. It's a different
Yep.
culture you're coming into.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
totally agree. So, speaking of that, is there anything tourists do, even when they mean well, that make locals cringe a little bit?
Um, okay. The key word she said is they mean well, right?
Yes. I like to think good in people. Like, people don't realize what they're doing sometimes.
So, for example, you're visiting, and then you, people are visiting, and so they're driving slow because they want like the drive from Kihei to Lahaina is so beautiful, right?
Yeah.
And so they're driving slow because the family are all like, "Oh, look at the ocean! It's so pretty next to it." But the line behind is so long already, and so okay, so that's they don't mean to hold the line, but they were just enjoying the ocean, the ocean view. So be mindful of that. Be respectful. Do not do that. If you really want to see the ocean view, pull over on a safe side and watch the ocean, especially when there's sunset going on, right? Just pull
Yep.
over, find a safe place, and then stop, enjoy it, and then drive, you know, the safe way. And so that's one thing that I thought of. um, Another funny thing is not so bad, but sometimes there are tourists that try so hard to speak pidgin. And for me, it's okay. I find it kind of like amusing sometimes. But there are some locals that do not really appreciate that. They kind of like get annoyed that, it's really bad how they try to speak in pidgin. So just speak the usual aloha and mahalo, and that's it. Don't try to
Totally
be like,
agree on that one.
yeah,
Yes. Every once in a
but
while, I travel with friends and they'll try, and I cringe immediately, and I'm like, oh my gosh, no, 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 stop what you're doing.
yeah, don't do that. We appreciate that you're trying, but no, the local pigeon is, it's really leave it to the locals.
Yes, exactly. I feel like you have to earn that.
Yeah, yeah,
Don't be
yeah.
doing
You
that
have
as a
to live here to
tourist.
be able to speak. I don't even
Yeah.
speak it, that much except for the usual word.
Mhm.
Eventually you'll be able to do it naturally, like the kind.
Right.
You can think of a word. It's the kind. So it just
Right.
comes natural later on, but don't force it. Yeah. And then one more thing that, some tourists are just excited, but they don't know they visiting the places that they should not be visiting. And
Mhm.
this happened when that book, and I'm sure a lot of visitors love that book, how Maui revealed. Oh,
Yep.
the people recommended, they're excited. And the locals don't like it because
Yeah.
the first edition now is better. I think he edited it. The newer versions are okay. But when it first came out, there are places that people, visitors are just going and they shouldn't be there. It's
Mhm.
kapu. Don't go there. And
Mhm.
so just a reminder that, there are so many beautiful places on Maui already. Don't try to always ask, I kind of get, concerned when visitors ask, what are the places that, people don't go to? And, we want to see the secret and
Yes.
the hidden. I don't
Yes.
blog about the secret and the hidden because,
Yes.
if
I
they're
don't
secret and
either.
they're hidden, they're kapu.
Yes, exactly. You're not
Yeah,
supposed to go there.
you're not supposed to go there. And, when they come, there are so many places that are so nice. You won't have time to see all the open places anyway. Why try to see the hidden one, right?
Absolutely. It's so funny because when I do consultations and stuff where I'm chatting with clients, and so many of them say, oh, we don't want to go to the tourist places. We want to only do the hidden gems and the secrets. And I think, but no, I always promote the tourist places because they're famous for a reason. Like there's some
Yes.
legitimately cool places. You don't want to miss that because you're trying to find a hole in the wall little place. Like
Yes.
do the famous things too. Like it's okay to kind of mix it up.
Yeah, I so agree with you. Because sometimes they have this idea, oh, we want to do all the local things, that the
Mhm.
people do. And it takes a certain kind of personality of tourist family to do that because we can direct them to like tasty crust and
Right.
a little hole in the wall. But when they
Yeah.
arrive there, they're not gonna enjoy because you
Right.
know it's different, right? So they have
Exactly.
in their mind that what the locals, but we send them to Wailuku. That's where all the locals, old timey restaurants are. They
Mhm.
might not enjoy it because what they have in their mind really, sometimes they don't know it, is the hula pie at the
Exactly.
hula pie and the Mama's Fish House. Although it's
Yep.
expensive, but it's worth it if you can afford it. So I agree with you. You direct them to places, popular places, because it's popular for a reason. Yeah.
Exactly. Totally. Are there any things that visitors do that actually makes locals feel good? Because I think a lot of people listening genuinely want to be that visitor, the one who leaves the island better than they found it. So, but what does that look like in practice?
Oh, I have so many experiences with great visitors. That's why I keep on doing this because it's just, you know, um, one thing I want visitors to know is sometimes there are isolated cases when they will feel like they're not welcome. But for the most part, they really are welcome and they will feel it from the people. So simple things, giving tips to the server. They don't earn a lot and then they serve so much. I mean, you will know it. I mean, you will know the smile and the service that they have. So that's a good reminder. And also, yeah, going to swap meet, just really supporting the local merchants, the local small business owners. When you go there, you talk to them and you see how important it is that they are being supported by the tourists. Don't just go to, we have Walmart here, we have
Right.
Target here, we have the big box store, but you have that, in the mainland too, right?
Yep.
And so in the continental US, whatever you want to call it. So why not go to the swap meet, the farmers market? Oh, that's my favorite. Because when you
Hmm.
go to farmers market, you get the freshest produce,
Yes.
unique produce, the lily koi. Oh my gosh, fresh
Yes.
lily koi, right?
Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and so that's what I recommend that people, the visitors do, and that gets appreciated so much. And even, if they don't have time to go to farmers market, there are stores, local stores within the like the malls or even in the resort, the resort are hosting a lot of this what do they call it? Market, wherein
Yeah.
they invite local, small businesses in their lobby. So, go there and buy some souvenirs, and that's appreciated so much.
I love that. Yes, we always try to shop local when we're in Hawaii. But it's not always easy because there are so many big box stores and stuff. And sometimes you think you're supporting local, but then you realize that the stuff isn't made in Hawaii or isn't,
Mhm.
there's lots of stuff. And so I always follow all the Hawaiian boutiques online on Instagram. And then
Yes.
I like make my shopping list of which stores I want to hit up. And I figure, I do it along our itinerary of like the fun stuff we're doing, but then I also say, hey, we have to go into this dress shop because I might need to buy a dress, to support the
Yes.
community, you know? So,
I agree.
okay, so yeah. So I need to ask about Lahaina. So it's been over 2 years since the fire. What does Lahaina actually look like today? Like what's changed, what's the same, and what do you want visitors to understand about that area right now?
Okay, so Lahaina town, um, it's bigger than probably what others would imagine.
Mhm.
And so what I would say is first know that the historic front street, the actual Lahaina town that people think of when they're visiting, it's still closed and the houses around it. So, if they have an idea of thinking, oh, they can see the banyan tree because it's thriving right now, they can't yet. It's closed. The harbor is open, but there are restrictions like they have a designated parking place, and the whoever is the sailing company will have to arrange on how to pick up from that parking place to bring to the
Okay.
harbor. There are things like that. There are some like in Mala they can. So they just have to know if they are thinking of the front street. There's a lot are in the Lahaina town that's open also. There's Lahaina Cannery, which was just renovated. It's so beautiful right now. There's Lahaina Gateway, and that strip where Old Lahaina Luau is, and then you can see there's like Star Noodle, there's Honu, Mala, restaurant, and Coco Deck. That line, like, they're open. And those are popular, places to go or restaurants to
Yeah.
visit. An activity in the Old Lahaina Luau that's pretty much open, so they won't miss it. And going back to like Lahaina Gateway, people talk about poke from Foodland. Yes, it's there in
Yes,
Lahaina.
exactly.
And like Lahaina Cannery, there's that new restaurant Calais, which is
Okay.
used to be a food truck, and then they started having brick and mortar, and it's so local. They're supporting local people, so go there and support that restaurant. There's fork and salad for the healthy choice. They have a new place there at the Lahaina Cannery also. And then they have inside the Lahaina Cannery, they have this little section that looks like food truck section, but it's
Okay.
inside. It's new
Oh,
one.
interesting.
It
Okay, I
is
haven't seen that yet.
yeah, it is inside. If you don't want to be outside with the food trucks, go there. It's
Okay.
really cute. And I think there's sometimes they have like free hula show there too.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah. So it's Lahaina is open. Just know where the section is that's not, and don't go there.
Okay, perfect. Well, that leads me to my next question because there's been a lot of debate about whether tourists should visit the former burn zone at all. And as someone who lives there, what's your honest take? Is visiting appropriate? And if so, how should people approach it?
Yeah, no. My answer is just plain no. Burn zone, that Lahaina, just don't visit it for now. I mean, there is really no point of visiting it. And I know you want probably to see how it's going on, how's the building. You can see it from afar. And so just
Mhm.
appreciate it from afar.
Agreed. I love it. And then earlier this month, on top of everything else, Maui got hit with this major Kona storm. Flooding in Kihei, South Kihei Road actually collapsed. The road to Hana shut down. And I saw that there were evacuation advisories near the temporary housing where Lahaina fire survivors are still living, which felt like such a gut punch. You were there through all of it. What was it like on the ground?
Um, and that's the thing is I live in Key, close to Wailea.
Okay.
And so I've seen both sides. Wailea is not affected that much, and that's where the big resorts are. And so, but if they're coming here and they're, staying in the Wailea side, it's really not affected at all. In Kihei side, really the North Kihei Road, you've seen it near Ololani, was like really bad, and there's a sinkhole in there. I'd like
Yeah.
to, I'm happy to announce that they have opened that road now. It's cleaned up.
Oh, amazing.
Yes, there's still gonna be repairing. There's still a lot of repair, but that North Road is open, so people can go through there. Sugar Beach Bakery and Ululani's, they're both open. They need the support because they've been closed for a
Yeah.
little while. Yeah, so you can go there. And then where I live, I'm close to where that sinkhole in front of Kamaole. That's kind of
Yes.
I was like, oh my gosh, what
So
happened here?
scary.
Yeah. So a few days, by now is there's a section that's closed off that's Kihei Akahi. That's kind of close to Fred's. And then on the other side, I think it's right after ABC store or Dolphin Plaza, or even actually even farther than that, just before after Kamaole Shopping Center, where coconuts. So that's the closed off section of the road. However, there is a newer road parallel to it. We call it the North-South Collector Road. I'm not sure exactly what the street name is. They rerouting the traffic, and it's really not that bad. I've rerouted many times, and it just flows naturally. It's parallel. It's not that long. So, and people, if they want to see the sinkhole, they can really park on those, like Kamaole Shopping Center is wide open, and then they can just walk and see. And so the beaches are now back to normal. It's not brown water anymore. So, I mean, some people would want to take precaution and take longer, but others are already swimming in it. There is that snorkel store that put out the snorkel report. Are
Oh,
you
yeah.
familiar with that? Yes.
Yes.
So so their report, they've been showing that, you can now even snorkel in Kaanapali side and south side. It's they gave a green to it. So yeah.
Nice.
So generally, so I would say Wahalaya is not affected. Kihei or there are some roads that heavily affected. It's kind of like, close to normal now. They still have to repair those sinkholes and stuff, but you can navigate through it. And so all the
Okay,
businesses are
perfect.
open. Yeah.
Perfect. Because I've definitely had a lot of emails where people are saying, oh, we were going to go to Maui, but should we switch to Kauai or the Big Island instead? Our trip is in August. And I was like, what?
August.
I was like, there's plenty of time. I was like, maybe, anything that happened, last week, this week, I said, oh, okay, maybe just check with whoever you're staying, make
Yeah.
sure that everything is still okay. So you go in with a realistic idea of what's happening. But for the ones who are traveling over the summer or the
Yes.
fall, I mean,
Oh,
this is not, yeah.
yeah. They won't even, probably notice the difference. I have another story. During the Kona storm, so the first Kona storm was really bad, right? Like the
Yeah.
worst we've seen in 20 years or more even. So I've been getting messages also, right? So there's this guy, and it's his I think his wife's 40th birthday celebration.
Okay.
They're coming on the 24th of March. So he
Oh,
messaged me, should we cancel or not? So that's difficult. But
yeah.
he told me that they're gonna be staying in at Anda. And I know that at
Oh,
Andas,
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not affected, right? And then I asked, there's some other questions. They really don't want to swim on the beaches. They're not planning to go to Hana. They're gonna be watching the some show in at the culture Maui Cultural Arts Center,
Okay.
and then they want to go Mama's Fish House for the special celebration, and that's really the main event that they want to do. So I said, okay, there's another storm coming aside from this big one. So it's gonna be rainy. However, in my experience here, I think you'll be okay. And I even think that by the time you arrive on the 24th, the days after that, you'll see sunshine. So I assured him. And that was difficult because this is a trip from the lifetime. And what if it's
Yes.
rainy and then it's flooding and all that,
Exactly.
right? So it was really hard. I gave him, the scenario. And then the cornerstone, the second cornerstone came, and it's raining. And it's closer to the date that they're gonna be coming here. And I was nervous because I told him to come, right? And
Yes.
so, long story short, the 24th, it was sunny. It was
Good.
really sunny on the south side where they're gonna be staying. So I
Yeah.
felt better after that. And then there's sunshine after that. It was really sunny days after that. And so I was curious. So finally I got the courage to message him. I said,
Yeah.
Did you come? Are you here now? Or did you cancel it? I said, if you canceled, it's totally understandable given the
Good.
situation. But if you're here now, I hope you're enjoying. And he did respond, they did not cancel and there's having
Oh,
it make
good.
time. So, it's those are difficult situations because it's so close to the storm.
Yes.
But like you said, but if it's, May, August, they'll be
Yeah.
fine. unless there's another
Exactly.
storm, but those are not stormy days. There's a summer, you know. So no worries. Come and enjoy.
That I've been telling people exactly the same thing, and I always say I don't have a crystal ball, I can't predict the weather.
Uh-huh.
However, like, typically, you will be
Yeah.
fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so yeah, so that story about the message, the 40th birthday, that's so funny because throughout that second Kona storm, I kept on thinking about it.
I know. It's hard when we give advice to people because
Yeah.
it's a lot of money, it's a big trip, they're taking time off out of, work and their
Yeah.
lives, and you want them to have an amazing time, and so you don't wanna steer them wrong, but
Yes.
also you don't want them to cancel and then be like, "Oh, the weather was beautiful, we should have just
Yeah.
gone," and maybe they can't
Yeah.
go back.
Yeah. So I really went with my gut, with my experience. If they said, they're staying in other places that I know are mostly rainy, then I would just have said, yeah, yeah, cancel. But I know that
Yeah,
the place where they're staying is gonna be fine. So I said, yeah, just
yeah.
come.
Oh, I love that. So when you watch your community go through something like this storm, on top of the fire, on top of everything, what do you most want the outside world to understand about Maui's resilience? Because I think people see the news coverage and assume the island is just like broken. And I don't think that that's the reality.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It's not the reality. And then again, going back to that first, we talk about value, the kōkua. So you'll see a lot of posting. That's the thing with social media is there's so much out there. It's hard to
So much.
wade through the information. It's like, what overshare or over information. Excuse me. Information overwhelm. And so you'll see the people asking for help. It's so bad, we really need
Hmm.
help and all that. You see people helping. And then for me, I felt bad that I'm not out there helping physically. I was
Right.
like, oh my goodness, I am here at the computer telling people that it's sunny in Wailea and showing sunset. Meanwhile, other people are posting about, the mud and the
Yeah.
all this cleanup that they're doing, and I'm not there helping. It's hard to go through or wade through that. You just have to know, okay, what is your kulia? What's your
Hmm.
responsibility and how can you help? And so yeah, so giving financially, if you can afford it to the people asking for help is a good way to do it.
Hmm.
um Knowing where the areas are, in being aware of where the areas are. It's not all Maui. Actually, it's just a very small portion of Maui that's affected, but they really do need help. And so if you can kokua, give some help. If they are already here and they have time to go physically and volunteer, even just beach cleanup, then that's a great way to help. The beach cleanup. It's you're at the beach anyway. Oh, you feel so much better after helping in the beach cleanup, right? And then yeah, for example, too, like I talk about Maui a lot. There is a big portion on Oahu that's really bad and
Yes.
affected. But then again, Oahu is big, so there are also section on Oahu that are not, that the businesses are needing, help, and they want to
Yeah.
be supported. So yeah, so I think the bottom line is just be aware of where those section are when they see a post, and
Hmm.
and clarify with some that are there, and
Yeah.
clarify what's going on, like what you're doing right now, what we're doing right now, just
Exactly.
clarifying and not just get overwhelmed by, like, for example, the news. I love that the news are reporting all this, where the flooding are, where the
Hmm.
destruction and all that, but it's their job, it's their kuleana to report those. But there's also a balance of, okay, there are places that are not that bad, so
Yeah.
just be
No, I
aware.
love that. Yeah, yeah, and know your sources. I feel like that's one of those big ones. I know, especially after the Maui fires, I was on Instagram, like, I swear 24/7 with all the different accounts, and I was trying to figure out what was happening, and,
Yes.
people were saying, "Oh, the news isn't reporting this, but here's the true story," and I got so into the weeds and all of that stuff, and I had to step away because, the truth is always a mix of everything, and so
Yeah.
it was a really overwhelming, but I had so many people who, they still ask me if Maui is open. because
Yeah.
of the fires. And I was like, oh, they've been open for, this whole time. And it was just a small section of Maui.
Yes.
And I've been back to that area a couple of times since the fires. And
Mhm.
so, I went to Old Lahaina Luau, like right when
Yeah.
they reopened. And, like so much of it is up and running. And,
Mhm.
businesses they need tourism dollars,
Mhm.
especially these small businesses. So I understand where people are coming from, but it's also, there's just so much conflicting information and, on social media and everything too.
Yeah, and like what you understand so much that, for some, it's an investment. For some, it's just gonna be once in a lifetime trip, you know?
Yeah.
For us, I live here, you visit often, but for
Yeah.
others, this is like a major decision. And so they try to get all this information and it
Yep.
becomes overwhelming. And that's why I
Absolutely.
appreciate you, you have this like consultation that you can, and even I only know Maui. So
Right.
if I go to Oahu, I really don't know that much. I will need to consult with someone that's been
Uh-huh.
there, visited Oahu, and I will ask questions. So it's good to
Yep.
ask questions. It's good to consult, and yeah. So I'm glad you're doing that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so my last question, and it's a big one. If you could leave every single person who visits Maui with one feeling, not a tip, not a checklist item, just a feeling, what would it be?
Well, I want to share the same feeling that I have, and that is gratitude. The feeling of gratefulness. It really is a great feeling. When you come here and you just like look at the sunrise or the sunset, and you have that awe and feeling of gratefulness that, wow, I experienced this. I saw this firsthand. It gives that feeling of gratitude, opens up so many other feelings of joy, warm memories of the family, or even by yourself if you're solo traveling, and feelings of like in your honeymoon, you're grateful that you're able to kind of spend it in this place. There's an actress that talk about, there's an energy in Hawaii that's you cannot feel in any other places. And
Yes.
just being grateful that you can feel that because you're physically here, bring that when you go back. And you know what, the truth is so many actually already doing that. I have followers, Instagram, that they've been here 10 years ago, even, 5 years
Yep.
ago, and they still love Maui and they still appreciate because they still have that feeling in their heart. So, yeah, I'm glad you asked that question too, because, usually like tips, what's tip? But it's really the feeling that stays. Maui stays with you wherever you go.
Yes. Yes, I couldn't agree more. Before I let you go, I want to make sure everyone listening knows where to find you because this conversation is honestly just a taste of what you share all the time. Tell people where they can find your blog and your podcast.
They can find me at amawiblog.com. But I have to warn you, it's not very updated anymore. That's because of social media. I just have to be honest. But I am always updating the Instagram, a Maui blog. So that's an updated place to find me. But I am planning to update a Maui blog, I promise. And also, we started the podcast, my friend and I, Shane Perry, and myself, which is also known as Auntie Pineapple. That's my alter ego, Auntie Pineapple, started the podcast. We call it Maui Life Podcast. So they can find us there. We regularly, I think we're doing like a once a month now. Hoping to get it more, frequent, consistent updating. But there's a lot of tip in there. And so it's a fun thing. We converse like this, like what we're doing right now. So mawiblog.com, a Maui blog on Instagram, and then yeah, Maui Life Podcast. So, and if I can plug, I am actually writing a book. It's gonna be out
Oh,
soon. um I'm not sure if you know that I actually published a Maui guidebook back in 2021. I think it's 2020,
okay.
right after COVID, because I felt that people are just confused. They don't know what to do, those
Yes.
old restriction. And so I published a guidebook and it's on Amazon. It did really well because it was a helpful book.
Yeah.
And then I was going to write a second edition So it was almost ready, and then the fire happened.
Oh,
So a
yeah.
lot of restaurants closed.
Yeah.
The dynamics is different. And so I was going to write a book about, after the Lahaina fire, the guide. And
Yeah.
then I got busy and didn't have time to do it. And then Kona storm happened.
Right.
And so, but okay, now it's closer. So I'll let you know when it's gonna be launch, and I'll send you a
Yeah.
copy for sure. Maybe send you
Yeah.
more copies to send to your followers. So
Awesome.
that's the news, and that's where they can find me.
That's fabulous. Okay. And yes, I will link everything in the show notes so you don't have to try to remember it while you're driving. Go find her, follow her, read her. She's exactly the kind of voice you want in your ear when you're planning a Maui trip or you just want to understand what life on the island actually looks like. Thank you so much for being here, Liza. This is exactly the conversation I hoped it would be.
Thank you so much. I had fun conversing with you. Always a pleasure, and I'm always following you. If I'm going other islands, I'll be contacting you.
Awesome. I would love to help you out.
Thank you. And yeah, wishing everyone a happy vacation coming here.
Okay, if that conversation didn't make you want to book a trip to Maui, I don't know what will. I learned things in that conversation that I genuinely did not know, and I've been to that island and I've been to Hawaii over 40 times. If today's episode has you thinking seriously about planning a trip and you want a place to start, episode 47 is your foundation. That's my how-to guide for planning a Maui trip from scratch. And if you're trying to figure out where on the island to actually stay, episode 71 breaks down all the different areas so you can find the right fit for how you travel. Both of these are linked in the show notes. For all my trusted resources, everything I personally use and recommend for planning a Hawaii trip, head to hawaiitravelwithkids.com in the Hawaii Resources tab. It's all in one place so you aren't hunting around the internet trying to figure out what to trust. And if you want to sit down with someone who knows this stuff inside and out and get a plan that is actually built around your trip, your dates, your budget, your travel style, your people, that's what consultations are for. You can book one at hawaiitravelwithkids.com under Hawaii Travel Consultant. People walk away from those calls knowing exactly what to do. No more going down the rabbit hole at midnight wondering if you picked the right resort. Maui is resilient. It has always been resilient, and it still needs you. Aloha, and I'll see you next week.